everyone, welcome back to Moonlit Destinies. So today we are going to discuss about a very beautiful topic, which is what is Mercury retrograde. Mercury retrograde has gained a widespread awareness about, what is Mercury retrograde really, how does it affect our mood, or how does it affect our business transactions, or our daily lives, to be very honest. So today we are going to discuss each aspect, of Mercury retrograde. So let's get started. Okay, so before starting, I just want to understand, like, have you ever experienced a sudden misunderstanding with a friend, a delayed flight, a phone with, that mysteriously stopped working, or maybe an email that disappeared at the worst possible moment, right? So, all of these things happen with each of us, right? It is very normal and common. But have you ever thought, like, all of these things can have a base, beneath? So, if so, chances are someone around you may have said Mercury retrograde is happening, right? So, if you are aware of this terminology at all. But what exactly is Mercury retrograde? Is it a real astronomical event? Does the planet Mercury actually start moving backward in space? And can it truly influence our daily lives, our relationship, communication, and technology? So today we are going to explore, multiple perspectives of Mercury retrograde. We'll look at the science behind this fascinating phenomenon, understand what it means in astrology, and we will also examine about like what psychology has to say about it. Okay, and we are also going to cover separate myths and misconceptions from reality. So, whether you are a firm believer in astrology, a curious skeptic, or simply someone who has heard the term on social media, this video is going to be very beneficial for you. So, let's begin a cosmic journey. Okay, so what is Mercury? Like, we all know it's a planet, it's the smallest planet, but apart from that, what do you know about Mercury? It is the closest planet to the sun, and all of the scientific knowledge that it completes one orbit around the sun in only about 88 Earth days. So it moves very fast because of obviously its weight. So it is the fastest moving planet also. Because Mercury travels so quickly around the sun, its position in our sky changes more rapidly than many other planets, right? Because you often have heard this terminology again and again occurring very oftenly, that Mercury retrograde is happening, Mercury retrograde is happening. So see, in astrology, if we talk about astrology, Mercury is often associated with communication, thinking, our learning, our travel plans, technology, to some extent, commerce, and the exchange of information. Okay, so this connection is partly inspired by the Roman messenger god Mercury, who was known for his speed and intelligence and all of that. So Mercury's role is important in our lives because these are the areas, as astrologers believe, are most affected during retrograde periods. Now it can definitely vary among individuals, but these are the areas mostly, see the changes. So what does retrograde actually mean? See, let's talk about the word retrograde. So the term retrograde, if we go according to the terminology, it means that moving backward. Like retrograde means moving backward. But Mercury does not actually reverse its direction in space. It doesn't happen like that. Some planet is moving in X direction, or it is going to now go, reverse in Y direction. It's not like that. This is one of the biggest misconceptions surrounding Mercury retrograde. The apparent backward movement is actually an optical illusion created by the relative positions and speeds of Earth and Mercury as they orbit the Sun. Okay? So imagine you're sitting in a car on a highway. As your car passes a slower moving vehicle, there is a brief moment when the other vehicle appears to move backward relative to the distant background, if you are understanding, this phenomena. So of course the vehicle is not actually moving backward, it only appears that way because of your changing perspective. right? Because you sitting in the fastest moving car, or because you looking it at that way. So same thing happens with Mercury also. As Earth overtakes Mercury during their orbital journeys around the Sun, Mercury appears to move backward across the night when observed from Earth. So astronomers call this an apparent retrograde motion. So Mercury retrograde is an astronomical event, but the backward motion itself is only an illusion. Okay. So why does Mercury retrograde happen so often? Because of Mercury's speed. Mercury is the fastest moving planet. It orbits the sun so quickly that the alignment between Earth and Mercury occurs multiple times every year. And since Mercury goes retrograde about 3 to 4 times annually, right? So each retrograde period usually lasts around 3 weeks. Okay, that's like 21 days. So nearly every year people experience several Mercury retrograde cycles. So it is often not noticeable and frequently discussed astrological event. Now, what is Mercury retrograde in astrology? So, if we shift our attention from astronomy to astrology, in astrology, Mercury governs, as I told you, our communication, our thought process, learning, transportation, contracts, technology, business transactions, and everyday interactions, right, with our friends and families. So, when Mercury enters into retrograde motion, astrologers believe these areas may experience disruption or delays, confusion, or the need for reassessment, maybe. Okay. So many astrologers describe Mercury retrograde as a period of reflection rather than action. Okay, many astrologers feel that it is a time to pause, it is a time to reflect or introspect everything and then react. Okay, so instead of focusing on moving forward aggressively, people are encouraged to slow down, to take a pause, to review their plans, revisit their unfinished projects, and pay closer attention to details, right? To minute details. Some astrologers view Mercury retrograde as an opportunity for growth through reflection, because when we look back, or when we looked into details, we definitely get some plans or get some movements in our lives. So this is a period of correction rather than a period of disaster. Okay, now what are the common experiences people associate with Mercury retrograde? So one reason Mercury retrograde has become so famous is because many people report experiencing unusual events during these periods, and everybody, right, every zodiac sign, it's not limited to some zodiac sign, it's not like that. People experience misunderstanding in conversations, emails sent to the wrong recipient. See, Mercury is a very fastest moving planet, it is a smallest planet, and it goes into the retrograde motion more oftenly than other planets. So the effects are also very smaller and very on the frontal end. It's not very big or something life changing like that. It's very small, it's very like negligible. Sometimes people often ignore these events fewer times. So the experiences are technology failures, computer crashes, travel delays, scheduling conflict, lost documents, unexpected encounters with people from the past, contract complications, relationship misunderstandings, and whatnot. So, for believers in astrology, for all those people who believe in astrology, these experiences are interpreted as manifestations of Mercury's retrograde influence. Because Mercury symbolizes communication and information, any disruption in these areas is often linked to Mercury retrograde. Now, what does science say about this phenomena? So, from a scientific standpoint, there is currently no reliable evidence demonstrating that Mercury retrograde directly causes, all these problems like travel delays and others. Scientists acknowledge that Mercury retrograde is a real astronomical phenomenon. However, the claim that it influences human behavior or daily events has not been supported by scientific research. So This does not necessarily invalidate personal experiences one may experience. Rather, it means that science has now found a measurable mechanism of connecting, Mercury's apparent motion to everyday life events on Earth. So it's as simple as that. Now, the role of confirmation bias. See, one of the most interesting explanations comes from psychology. Psychologists often discuss something called confirmation bias, right, which is related to Mercury retrograde. So confirmation bias refers to the our tendency to notice information that supports our existing beliefs while overlooking the information that contradicts them, right, which we most commonly do on a daily basis. For example, if you believe that Mercury retrograde causes communication problems, you may pay special attention every time a misunderstanding occurs during a retrograde period, right? Because if we believe on something, when it happens, we tend to believe or give it a benefit of doubt that it happens because of that particular thing, right? So at the same time, you may forget all the smooth and successful conversations that happened during the same period, but you are going to focus on that particular thing and you are going to blame it over Mercury retrograde. So it is, a perfect example of confirmation bias. Likewise, if I give you an example, if a technology problem occurs outside Mercury retrograde, you may not think much about it. Technology disruption, or maybe communication problems or problems like that happens in everybody's lives. But when Mercury retrogrades happen, a person who believes or know or who is aware of that particular terminology is much more concentrated towards if it is happening because of Mercury retrograde or not. But if the exact same problem occurs during retrograde, it suddenly feels meaningful, it suddenly feels, understandable, and, all the logics come into the picture. So, this psychological tendency may explain why Mercury retrograde appears highly significant to some individuals than others. Now, there is a positive side of Mercury retrograde, and there is obviously a negative side as well. So interestingly, not all astrologers, view Mercury retrograde negatively, and it is not negative for that matter. See, any kind of planetary movement, be it a retrograde, be it getting direct, or any kind of movement, if it is a conjunction, if it is an aspect, or if it is the covering, of the other planet, like a lunar eclipse or a solar eclipse or whatever, everything in the astrology has a positive and negative aspect. It is not a negative aspect, as such. It is just a time of introspection, reflection, a pause, maybe, just to reflect on to good things or good times, good memories. So positive aspect of Mercury retrograde. See, many modern astrologers emphasize its potential benefits. Mercury retrograde can be seen as a cosmic reminder to just slow down and reflect, to spend some time with your family members, to spend some time with your closed ones, with your loved ones, with your friends, with your colleagues, maybe. So it may encourage us to review unfinished work or project or, anything, reconnect with old friends, reevaluate our goals for future, correct our mistakes, organize our thoughts, improve our communication habits, and revisit projects that were abandoned too soon. Okay, because of no growth visible in that no growth was visible in that project. Or see, sometimes we conclude very quickly about something and it is not the case. So Mercury retrograde often gives us the time to reflect onto those things more properly, so that we can revisit those things and we can get it done. So instead of fearing Mercury retrograde, some people use it as an opportunity for introspection and personal growth, as self-reflection. Now, what are some myths and misconceptions about Mercury retrograde? So myth number one goes like everything goes wrong during Mercury retrograde. It is not the case. Millions of people continue their lives normally during these periods, Mercury retrogrades or any other kind of retrograde. Myth number two: you should never sign contracts during Mercury retrograde. Right? We often see see these astrological websites during Mercury retrograde, which gives us the impact on certain zodiac signs. So definitely it is going to be mentioned in like those articles that it is not the best time to sign a contract or sign any agreement or sign any project or whatever. If you carefully review, it is always wise to a good opportunity, a good project, a good contract. Why not? I mean, why to give away that opportunity? Why to delay? I mean, Mercury retrograde is just a time to pause and to slow down and to reflect. It is not the time to just sit and do nothing. It's not like that. Many successful agreements are completed during Mercury retrograde. Myth number 3: relationships are doomed during this period. See, healthy communication and mutual understanding is a key of any kind of relationship, okay, between two individuals. And it remains far more important than planetary alignments. No matter what planetary alignment is going in the cosmic universe, if you have that basic understanding about each other and the basic mutual communication, the healthy communication, it is not going to go anywhere. It is, the relationship is going to continue in a most beautiful way. Okay. Myth number 4: technology will definitely fail. See, technology problems occurs throughout the year. We see that, right? So regardless of Mercury position, it is going to happen if it is going to happen. It has no relationship with Mercury retrograde. So understanding these myths helps us maintain the balanced perspective. Now, practical tips during Mercury retrograde. See, whether you believe in astrology or not, certain practical habits can be useful. Double check important messages before sending them. Who are you sending? Are you sending to the right person? Are you sending the message correctly? Review, okay? Back up important data regularly. Allow extra time while traveling. If any flight gets delayed or postponed or cancelled, you always have the time to reach out wherever you want to go in time. Read contracts carefully. Communicate clearly and avoid assumptions. Stay patient when plans change unexpectedly. These are some valuable practices at any time of the year, but many people find them especially relevant and helpful and correct during Mercury retrograde. Now, I will tell you why these tips are important during Mercury retrograde. See, what happens is whenever we talk about any planet's retrograde or any planet's getting direct or whatever motion the planet is showing or having or conjunction or that planet is going to impact on one's lives individually. Like, it has individual impact on everybody's life depending on the charts or the planetary alignments or the conjunction or the aspects you have in your chart or the positions as well. Now, for me, I can have some different kind of impact. You can have some different kind of impact, and XYZ person are going to have an XYZ kind of impacts. So you have to understand that it is not generalized. It cannot happen very general. It is specific to every individual. Now, depending on your charts, I can tell it very clearly and carefully, like what that certain period is going to impact and how it is going to impact and what precautions are needed at your end. I can definitely tell you. So if you want your like personal reading for your chart, please contact me on the email ID given below. It's as simple that you have to just give in to the process, and you have to understand that all of these planetary alignments, positions are very specific to one's individuals. Like, it cannot be like the impact cannot be generalized in a manner that I can say the technology will fail, so the technology is going to fail for everybody. It's not like that. It doesn't happen like that. It happens for some, I would say, but definitely depending on their planetary positions or alignments or what house Mercury is occupying in the chart. Depending on all those factors, we can come to a conclusion that how Mercury retrograde is going to impact. Now, why has Mercury retrograde become so popular? Why not any other planet's retrograde is so common? We often see memes becoming so popular about Mercury retrograde. See, Mercury retrograde has moved or evolved far beyond astrology. Today, it is a major cultural phenomenon. Social media platforms are filled with memes and jokes and predictions and discussions whenever Mercury retrograde begins. Celebrities mentions it, influencers discusses it, news outlets cover it. So, for many people, Mercury retrograde has become a shared cultural experience that combines astronomy, psychology, spirituality, and entertainment. So, its popularity reflects humanity's enduring fascination, with finding meaning and patterns in the universe. So, to conclude, what is Mercury retrograde really? We have seen astronomically it is a genuine phenomena created by the relative motions of Earth and Mercury around the Sun. Mercury does not actually move backward, it only appears to do so from our perspective on Earth. Mercury retrograde is definitely believed to influence communication, technology, travel, and thought processes. Scientifically, we do not have any evidence of this. Psychologically, factors such as confirmation bias and everything else may help explain why many people strongly connect life events with Mercury retrograde or retrograde periods. So definitely Mercury retrograde exists at a fascinating intersection of all these fields I mentioned above. Whether you see it as a cosmic influence, a psychological phenomenon, or simply an interesting celestial event, it continues to captivate millions of people around the world. So, yeah, that was about Mercury retrograde. I hope I have covered, the 360-degree view of Mercury retrograde and you got a better understanding of it now. If you want to know the personalized reading of your chart, and if you want to know anything about, how the subsequent retrogrades or the subsequent planetary changes going to impact your life, or going to, if you want to know when your relationship is going to get beautiful, when you're going to get married, when you're going to get a good job, or is job or business what is suitable for you, anything if you want to know from your chart, please do contact on this below email ID. I'll definitely help you guys. So thank you so much. If you enjoyed this video of Mercury retrograde, don't forget to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to Moonlit Destinies for more fascinating journeys into astrology, celestial mystery, zodiac insights, and cosmic wisdom. So until next time, keep looking to the stars and may your path be illuminated by the light of the universe. See you in the next video. Bye bye. Take care.